Dr. Keith Rowley's Legacy, a controversial chapter in Trinidad and Tobago's political history, an editorial by Professor Wall Street. As Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley prepares to step away from political leadership, the nation is left to assess his tenure as Prime Minister, a tenure marked by polarizing decisions, societal shifts, and a legacy that will undoubtedly spark heated debates for years to come. While every leader faces challenges, Dr. Rowley's stewardship of Trinidad and Tobago will likely be remembered for its contentious milestones and the enduring questions about its impact on the nation's social and economic fabric. The Petron Closure, a pivotal economic blow. Perhaps the most defining economic decision under Dr. Rowley's administration was the closure of Petron in 2018. This state-owned oil company, once a cornerstone of the nation's economy, was deemed unsustainable by the government. The closure resulted in the loss of thousands of jobs, particularly in the southern region of the country, creating a ripple effect that devastated families, communities, and ancillary industries. While the government justified the decision as a necessary step to curb financial hemorrhaging, the long-term impact on unemployment and economic activity in affected areas remains a sore point. Poverty among black citizens, a troubling legacy. Under Dr. Rowley's watch, Trinidad and Tobago witnessed a grim milestone. The highest recorded percentage of black citizens living below the poverty line, peaking at 26.3%. This marks a sharp contrast to the legacies of former prime ministers such as Basdio Panday, Patrick Manning, and Kamla Persad-Bissell, under whom poverty rates among black citizens did not reach such alarming levels. The growing economic disparity, exacerbated by the pandemic and inflationary pressures, has left many questioning whether enough was done to create equitable opportunities and support systems for vulnerable communities. Crime and public safety, a national crisis. Dr. Rowley's administration presided over the highest murder rates in the nation's history, with the first, second, and third highest annual tallies recorded during his tenure. Despite investments in law enforcement and various initiatives aimed at addressing crime, the country remains plagued by violence, particularly gang-related activity. Critics argue that the government's strategies lack the urgency and innovation needed to tackle the root causes of crime, leaving citizens with a pervasive sense of fear and insecurity. The elderly pension debate, a misstep in social policy. Another controversial episode of Dr. Rowley's tenure was his administration's proposal to restrict access to the elderly pension grant for those with savings exceeding $25,000. The suggestion sparked widespread outrage, particularly among senior citizens and advocacy groups who viewed it as an attack on the financial independence of retirees. While the government ultimately reversed its position amid public backlash, the incident highlighted concerns about the administration's priorities and its approach to social welfare. A polarizing leader. Dr. Rowley's leadership style, often characterized as unyielding and combative, drew both admiration and criticism. Supporters hailed him as a pragmatic leader willing to make difficult decisions, while detractors viewed him as dismissive of dissenting voices and disconnected from the struggles of ordinary citizens. His handling of critical national issues, from economic management to social policy, leaves a legacy that is as complex as it is contentious. Tobago's autonomy. Dr. Rowley's handling of Tobago's push for greater autonomy also drew criticism. Many in Tobago felt neglected and believed that their interests were not adequately represented during his tenure. The failure to advance Tobago's autonomy has been cited as a significant shortcoming of his administration. The verdict on leadership. As Dr. Rowley exits the political stage, the question remains: did his administration advance the interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, or did it exacerbate existing inequalities and deeper national challenges? While history will eventually provide a more nuanced verdict, his tenure serves as a sobering reminder of the weight of leadership and the far-reaching consequences of governance. One of the most notable and controversial statements made by Dr. Rowley was his assertion that he had no problem with making the rich richer so they could create opportunities for the poor. This comment was intended to highlight the role of wealthy individuals and businesses in driving economic growth and job creation. However, it was widely perceived as tone-deaf and dismissive of the struggles faced by the less fortunate. Many critics argued that this approach exacerbated income inequality and failed to address the root causes of poverty. In conclusion, Dr. Keith Rowley's tenure as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago will be remembered for its bold decisions and significant controversies. While he undoubtedly faced numerous challenges, the negative aspects of his legacy, including the closure of Petron, the pension savings fiasco, and ongoing issues with crime and economic diversification, have left a lasting impact on the nation. As Trinidad and Tobago moves forward, it will be crucial for future leaders to address these issues and work towards a more inclusive and resilient future. Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley's tenure as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago will likely be remembered as one of the most contentious in the nation's history. His administration was marked by several controversial decisions and policies that have left a lasting impact on the country. From the closure of Petron, which resulted in significant job losses and economic disruption, to the mishandling of the Pension Savings Amendment, which sparked widespread public outrage, Dr. Rowley's leadership has been heavily criticized. Additionally, his inability to effectively address the high crime rates and his failure to diversify the economy have further tarnished his legacy. As a result, many will consider Dr. Rowley's legacy to be one of the worst and most polarizing and criticized prime ministers in the history of Trinidad and Tobago,